Your hearing is deteriorating rapidly.
We'll come back. Till then, Lou, we just keep going, okay?
No.
Lou,
No.
let's play tomorrow. Let's see what it's like, okay? I'm gonna be like a click track. You can play to me.
You have to understand, your first responsibility is to preserve the hearing you have.
I can't hear you. Do you understand me? I can't. I'm deaf. I'm deaf.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Hey everyone, welcome to Garbage In, Garbage Out. I'm your host, Kelton, and this week I'm joined as always by my co-host, Grift. How is it going, buddy?
It's good. This movie activated my tinnitus fears, so, I mean, besides that, it's going well.
Well, I hope that we can all go get a checkup relatively soon. This week we are joined by Babs from Radio Free Labor. How is it going?
It is going good. Happy to be here with you guys.
Fantastic. It's always nice when we can start off a podcast with this level of energy and enthusiasm, especially with, just such a rollicking good time of a movie, a feel-good story all the way around with something like The Sound of Metal, which, man, what a film. What a film. What did y'all think about this movie? Kind of go round table a little bit.
Well, I was telling you before we started recording, I'm used to doing like joke kind of movies on my pod. Like we did like National Treasure, and we're going to do like, stuff like that. But, so
only the most classic films, in other words.
Exactly. So I went into this just assuming it was going to be bad. And then like, I was like enthralled watching this for like the 2 hours that it was. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, the whiplash of going from Thunder Force to this was was almost as traumatizing as the sound design of this movie, which the way it portrayed being deaf, like the sudden isolation and terror of that, and then the sort of like distorted reality of the implant life.
Yes,
like these were things that I had never had a piece of media sort of explain to you what the experience is like in such a frankly terrifying and visceral fashion. Like I think this movie was like an important achievement, at least on that front.
Absolutely.
And just background, I'm the only one in my family who can hear properly. Like,
oh wow!
All of my family is partially or totally deaf.
Oh damn!
My grandfather has had the same surgery in the movie, and he has described it like robot voices before, to the point where he has to like rip off the things as well.
Wow.
So I thought that this movie did like a really good job at like highlighting, like, from my experience, this seemed pretty accurate to like how deaf people live and communicate. I wish I was better at my sign language so I could understand what was happening in the movie, but very good movie.
This definitely seems like the type of film that they would purposefully give oversimplified subtitles for some things, just so that way then there could be some inside jokes among people who do know ASL along the way. So
Yep.
I'd be fascinated to then see, what all they kind of hid as little Easter eggs. But to piggyback a little bit off of what you were talking about, Grift, when I watched this movie, I never had a reaction quite so much as this better win sound design at the Oscars.
Right?
How I'm not fucking expecting Tenet or the Trial of the Chicago 7 to exactly, put up what this movie is putting up in this area.
This movie losing sound design would be like Kendrick losing the Grammy to Macklemore.
It just feels like, this movie's been nominated for a bunch of things. It's been nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Screenplay, and Best Editing, in addition to sound design. Is being listed as like a top 10 overall film by the American Film Institute. So it's not exactly like no one's ever heard of this movie before. So like I would expect everyone to feel good about going and watching this movie. I don't feel like it's a hot take to say that this is one of my favorite movies of the year, if pretty much everyone is agreeing that it's good, at least in some capacity or another. So it just feels like this was a almost a throwback because it didn't have any political overtones and message, and it didn't have some sort of agenda driven by the director in addition to the actual subject matter, where you're going like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what's going for. It's not like a Revenant situation where it's like, well, Leo needs an Oscar and this is the movie that's going to do that. Instead, this is just a plain good movie, and that's about it.
And it's not some sort of like woke crusade against ableism or anything.
Yeah.
It actually treats its subject with like maturity and doesn't try to emotionally manipulate you. It just like shows and doesn't tell you what to feel, but it makes you feel the point that you're supposed to feel from it just from the way it's composed.
And it also, I think, like, highlights, like, the good things about being deaf, or, like, how positive, like, the deaf community is and stuff like that. Like, I think they did that without preaching.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly kind of like how you said it. I mean,
yeah.
I personally, I put this on around my deaf family, and they were like, turn that off, because, like, the opening scene is Screamo. And they were like, turn that off, we can't stand it. And then now I'm gonna be like, you guys gotta finish the rest of this movie. It's all about you guys, please.
That's literally the only Screamo scene in the whole thing. Like,
yeah, this movie's musical choice. I mean, I guess to do some background here, were y'all in any like the underground scene or in any bands yourselves, anything like that?
I was in like a techno kind of underground scene, but that's different.
Okay, all right, slightly different, same amount of hearing loss, probably.
Definitely.
Yeah, my underground scene was r-hip hop heads. No, but
the zenith of culture.
When I lived out in Southern California, I got to see a lot of hip hop acts live and go to like raves and festivals and stuff. So, and I definitely remember having my ears be pretty fucked up the next day from just like one night of extremely loud live music. So like, I can't imagine like being in a drummer in a Screamo band day in, day out, practices, performances, record, like all of it, just putting immense strain on your ears. Like it's a like side effect and drawback of the lifestyle, I guess, but it's just
absolutely
it's next level.
I went to a house show once in Houston, and my ears were ringing for about a week, and I mean literally the tinnitus sound, where after about day 4 I was like, oh god, like this is going to be my life for the rest of time. And then they got better, and so being the normal person without insurance that I am, I just assumed that my ears were fine, and then I went about my life like nothing ever happened. So fingers crossed that that's gonna stay the case.
I love that like underinsured or no insured like move, because that was me for so long. It would be like, I think like I may have like broken like something, but it'll be fine. I don't need a doctor. Like,
yeah, if it stays swollen, then I'll go. But how long does it take before symptoms can become deadly? 6 hours? All right, 5.5. Set the clock. Let's figure this out. It's we treat ourselves like dogs who just ate a chocolate muffin. Is just really kind of hoping for the best
wait and
here.
see game.
Why pay a set amount of money each month for health insurance when you can just keep updating the bar in your head for what constitutes like this actually needs to be like treated?
If there was a movie that people could watch with headphones, or was designed for people to watch with headphones, I think it probably would be this movie.
Yeah.
But, if there was also a movie that would make, I think, foreigners really empathize with Americans for not having insurance, it would probably also be this movie. Because, I mean, later on, there's a scene where it's talked about how, well, these cochlear implants aren't covered by insurance, even though most insurances they are covered by. I think that line was meant for foreign audiences, so then they could kind of get an idea of it, because I think really what that situation entails with our main character living in a van down by the river in an RV with his punk girlfriend. He probably just didn't have insurance from Jump Street. And so they didn't want to have that, if I don't have insurance, how much will it cost me? And blah, 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 blah. That seems like it's an easy way to trim about 1.5 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah, because foreign audiences literally cannot understand the concept of not having government health insurance, like
Especially if you're
universal
deaf.
health care available to you. Yeah. Like,
They don't understand that we pay $300 to go get a cold checked if you don't have insurance. Like,
No, $300 so that then it only costs me $20 when I go in to get a cold check.
exactly.
It's a wonderful system. I'm just so glad. Now this episode is going to be coming out Monday or Tuesday, and that's going to be around the time that the Oscars are happening. So we can kind of see just how much hype this movie actually will be deserving in the in-between time from recording to seeing if it gets 1 win, 2 wins. Who knows? It's definitely not going to win Best Picture, but I think everyone should feel safe recommending this movie.
oh yeah, for sure. But like, to go back to the point you made earlier about how it's sort of the like underrated, flying under the radar thing, I think that sort of speaks to just how, like, especially like, I feel like particularly this year and in the past couple years, the big, like, the movies at the Oscars, like, they haven't had like the cultural impact that past ones have.
Yeah.
The only thing that's like making like a cultural impact in my mind is like the Marvel movies now. Like that's like where we're at.
Godzilla versus Kong, Zack Snyder. Yeah, basically all the stuff we cover on this show is at the cutting edge of culture.
This is my 1 week that we can go Oscar bait worthy, okay? I refuse to have this taken from me. So I'm just hoping it's going to be a good narrative. Because, I mean, my 2 favorite movies that are kind of in the race, so to speak, are The Sound of Metal, of course, but then also The Father with Anthony Hopkins, which I don't know if y'all are familiar with that movie or how it's filmed or anything, but it's an elderly gentleman who's suffering from dementia, but you are experiencing it the way he is. So random scenes will end and then pick up some point of time later in a different setting. You don't know when, you don't know where.
Wow.
Stuff is playing out of order, and so you have no real idea of being able to get your bearings with it. And
Wow,
I mean,
that sounds really good.
yeah, just, I mean, again, it's all coming from like Anthony Hopkins actually gave a shit again for the first time in like 25 years for a movie. And so
He's so good.
yeah, I mean, it's just a perfect way for, I think, people to experience this age of him. So, again, wouldn't say like as a Best Picture thing, but just as a personal performance, it's probably Hopkins at 1, then Riz Ahmed.
There's a non-zero chance that Anthony Hopkins himself currently has dementia.
Yes.
So
yeah.
imagine a guy with dementia or like Alzheimer's like making a movie where that's the concept.
Hey,
like...
now there's our pitch for a Hollywood script, okay? 30 years from now, once Anthony Hopkins has been dead, I don't know, for about 10 years, then we'll do like on the anniversary of his death, we release this movie, award competition. It's about the making of The Father. And then, we cast some other old as fuck actor to play him. So
I mean, 30 years, they all take child blood now. He'll probably still be alive.
A movie about dementia would just be like a documentary about Joe Biden.
Just played completely straight as like a case study in like the erosion of a human brain, but it's Joe Biden. Like
It's just every press conference and like debate, just footage, just of that, and that's it for 2.5 hours.
I mean, we could sell it, as is pod canon at this point. Grift and I, we are big fans of Southland Tales, and so I could envision that if we did it, especially as like a Star Wars-esque 6 different movies all about dementia, set in like the Biden verse, if you will, that could be something, would be a respectable swing.
I mean, talking like 6-part series and like our place in media, basically recreate the Red Letter Media reviews, but it's just skits of Joe Biden like completely wetting the bed.
Jesus, God, no, I could see that happening. To circle into some background information on this movie, do y'all know anything about it before coming in? I know you had mentioned expecting it to be a dumb comedy movie, so slightly different vibes, I'm sure.
Yes.
But Grift, had you looked anything up beforehand?
No, I pretty much went in completely blind. I recognized the main guy from The Night of. that
Yes.
HBO
Yeah.
miniseries. Like,
He got hot. He was not hot in that show, and he was really hot personally.
It's amazing
But-
what 5 years basically will do of being a Hollywood leading man. Good for him. In other news, Camille Nanjiani also looking prime beefcake these days.
that he's gone sicko mode.
Yeah.
Like he's popped off.
It looks like he is possessing some bodybuilder's soul. This is what's happening to him. It is bizarre. The thing though I wanted to mention about this movie, just some background information, is that this is filmed in one of the most indie ways, meaning that it's filmed over 24 days. Everything was filmed chronologically, and it was filmed only at 3 different locations. And so they really made every dollar of the budget count as they were going through this. It comes from a guy who, this is his first movie. So, man, talking about knocking it out of the park. His next
Yeah.
movie, I'm sure, will be a train wreck, because that's what happens with all these guys.
Sophomore
Except Southland Tales.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just reach even more perfection. But yeah, this guy, though, he was famous mostly for being the screenwriter of The Place Beyond the Pines, which, do you remember that movie? It was a movie that was pretentious and up its own ass, but that same director was working on a film that was going to be like a half documentary, half actual movie about some band that he knew, but then it kind of languished around in hell a little bit, in development hell rather. And so this director decided to kind of pick up the torch and reworked a few things. The death angle, I believe, was inserted at that point, which honestly, like, this movie sounds like it would not be interesting to me at all
No.
if it didn't have the aspect of losing your hearing behind it. So, good on them for actually developing the script that way. And then, it was shot in just a few different places. Really kind of wanted to leave the audience feeling immersed, just like the main character. And I would say a rousing success in that area. Kudos to them. And then also, I guess, good on Riz Ahmed for, as you mentioned, getting hotter, but also now learning ASL and how to play the drums. Just more quivers of talent for that guy.
That was one of the things I was really surprised at, because I kept waiting for it to be like, oh, like that's a stunt double, like drumming, but no, he's going for it. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where if I ever was rich and famous, but I had been like in a band before, I would never tell anyone that I was in a band, because I want those pro lessons. I want people to then go like, oh, it only took him this long to learn how to play guitar, because that sounds way better than he knew how to play guitar, but it still took him this long to try and figure out how to make it sound good before they just did go hand doubles all the way around. Again, those are just some basic background information. I don't want people to go, you gave us spoilers, because again, I think that once it wins an award or something, people are going to check out, see it's available on Amazon Prime, and want to watch it. So again, please go watch it before we dive into this rundown of sorts.
I mean, anyway, it's not really like a spoilers type movie where that would matter as much. It's more like it's more like a journey. The journey is the point type movie.
Yeah.
So,
There's no like big twists and turns.
Yeah, you already know what this show is like. Yeah, we're talking about the movie as if you've already seen it, so can't get mad at us.
Exactly. If you haven't seen it, or if you don't want to, the best thing in the world would be someone going, I didn't want to see it, I listened to y'all's episode, and now I can fake that I've seen it around everyone, and that's a badge of honor for me, honestly. You know?
Yeah, we are providing just plays in the male manipulator playbook for you.
That's the Lord's work.
So our movie opens up on Riz Ahmed. He plays Ruben, and he's a drummer in the metal group Screamo band with his girlfriend Lou, who's played by Olivia Cook, who was the female lead in Ready Player One. So that was really annoying me the whole movie, because I could not see that as her face, even if she bleached her eyebrows.
I blocked that movie out of my memory, so I did not have to think about that the whole time I was seeing her on screen.
Well, congratulations. I'm very happy for you, Grift. They are like a metal group, screamo group, but they are living in an RV while driving across the United States, going from gig to gig. And I just really kind of appreciated how they didn't have an Instagram page and they didn't have like a podcast, because I have a feeling that in the real world would exist for them. You know, they seem like that kind of on the road Jack Kerouac kind of vibes all the way through, as they're having conversations about favorite R&B songs, or how that Meatloaf song was about anal, you know, just some real just posters energy all the way through, I think, with it.
Yeah, left Twitter creative couple where the where the girl's father is a billionaire.
Yes.
I was gonna say this movie is completely accurate because it's an indie band artist with a rich parent.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the internet's kind of blowing up because there was some band that recently got outed as being giant industry plants that kind of were trying to fake come up on TikTok before they actually got officially famous or something. But I just think, at least in the metal scene, if you found out that you had a millionaire father from Europe, that would just tank your reputation.
Yes.
Especially if the musical talent that you have is basically being like dollar store Grimes, is kind of like her aesthetic when she's by herself.
Yes.
Like, he is the metal part, I feel like, of their duo. She is. I don't know.
I mean, let's be real. If this took place in the real world, her father would have sold her to Elon Musk. Like,
too old, Grift. Come on now. We can't. So they play a show, and or rather, as they're getting ready to play a show, they our character Ruben, he ends up getting extreme tinnitus in his ear, and he decides to go to a pharmacy to go get that checked out, which God bless that pharmacist for trying to walk that through all that.
The pharmacist even like calls like a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, really, just A+ guy. Like,
no, you can't. This is not something you can just like put Neosporin in and fix. Like, this is a real big problem here.
Also, the scene where he first felt his loss of hearing was at the merch table. So, like,
that must have struck home for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna be headphones on always in the Grift shop, just having tinnitus hypochondria over here.
I mean, like, when the tinnitus starts and you're unable to kind of get your bearings while the movie is going, I mean, it really is one of those just inhale and say fuck under your breath a little bit, because that's when you know that the movie's not messing around.
The point of it is to show like how terrifying it is for him to suddenly have this change. Like, imagine if you woke up in the morning and couldn't hear anything, and then we're trying to like experiment, like talking to yourself and just trying to hear any sound, and like the way the sound design evokes that like terror and consternation is pretty masterful.
I mean, that scene where he's actually getting the hearing test done, and then he's talking to the guy's reading off a list of words, and then Ruben's reading it back. Just the fact that then when he's reading it back, they are the wrong words. Like, that fucked me up on a deep level of where I'm like, oh, this is what hearing loss is. It isn't just like the sound quality. It's what you actually are able to be hearing coming across.
I can't tell you how many fights have started in my family because someone has said the word like something close to cunt, and then someone will hear it as cunt, and then everyone starts. It that happens a lot.
Continuing on to my other point. What is that? What like the equivalent of dog whistling is in deaf communities? Is just, you know, starting off with a curse word and then immediately switching to something else. I'm not sure. Now, he's then given an opportunity, or he's then informed about the wonders of cochlear implants that will solve all of his problems, essentially. Or that's how it's pitched to him, more or less, at the beginning, is that in order to restore your hearing, it won't be 100%, but you can restore your hearing. You can then accept these implants. Which, I mean, just talk about a fantastic guest to have on here. What's your familiarity with the cochlears?
I have 2 family members that have them. I used to have 3, but one passed away. Each one of them said it's really hard when there's a lot of sounds at once, which we see in the later parts of the movie because it's just overwhelming. And it's all robot voice. And so I thought this interesting because I've always heard people describe it as like robotic and you kind of miss things and stuff like that. But to actually hear it like they do in this movie, I thought was very well done.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're jumping ahead to it, but I think it's a good point to mention, though, is that he's expecting like almost near full range being restored back, and like the human ear can hear up to like 20,000 different sounds and tones and notes, and with the cochlear implants, the limit is, I believe, 36 or 48 as like the baseline number. And man, just talk about the reduction there. I mean, just it all does not sound good whatsoever. And again, when the movie is structured as this is going to be kind of like the last 20 minutes, like the big hurrah for our hero, he's going to get his shit together, just a real kick in the teeth moment that I appreciate it, and I love the movie for that much more. So I'm not sure what that says about me ultimately, but we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, the way the cochlear implants were portrayed, it was almost as jarring as not hearing anything because of like the distortion and the distraction and the way it all layered on itself. It was like, and you really like definitely commiserated with his ending decision that it was a better life to not hear anything than to hear this like manufactured, distorted medical solution that ended up making things like more chaotic in his brain than just like living with the silence, which was definitely that conversation he had with the house leader about like the value of like silent moments and sort of like being present. That was definitely like an emotional crux of the movie and was one of the more affecting turns of phrase and moments of the script for sure. And I thought the themes that brought out definitely reflected across the whole thing in a way that like haven't been the case in a lot of the media we've been consuming, I guess, for like so it was it definitely sort of hit harder considering that there aren't as many, you know, like movies and stuff that are having those messages and pulling them off like that these days.
It really is strange to see a movie that is geared towards adults. And it isn't adult because of, the gore, the sexual graphic content, but just like the thematic themes and the pressures that then happen and reverberate throughout the movie are very mature and nuanced. And it requires a bit of digestion mentally instead of kind of action reaction over and over again. And
it's also not like manipulative. It's not like telling you how to feel or like having an agenda. It's just like, you know, presenting something in a strong, like emotionally resonant way that lets you come to your own feeling about it, however, whatever that is, like on your own terms.
Like when the doctor explains what the options are for Ruben and about how he needs to try and preserve whatever hearing he has left, but then Ruben leaves and then decides to actually go play at the punk show. You know, like that was one of those things about, I think when I was younger, I would go like, yeah, you gotta go with your heart. You gotta do what you gotta do. But now I'm seeing it as like, oh, this is a guy like who had something cataclysmic happen to him. And he is not able to fully process it right now. Cause like, this is something that you can't return to your old life. You can't go back to the way that things were. So you're forced to have to accept whatever is laying in front of you, no way out but through, sort of. And that's just something about where there's not, I think, too many of those as a message that comes across in too many movies these days, because it's always about, well, if you have option A or B, choose C. Go with whatever else. Try and find either the middle ground if it's a political movie, or like if it's an action movie, there's some other way. Yeah, it just is something about where when you're dealing with reality, like that's what life is dealing with a series of tough and sometimes shitty choices just over and over again until you die. It's great. I love it. So Ruben rightfully then ends up having a panic attack at his show that night, and that's when he finally fesses up to his girlfriend and billionaire heiress Lou about his condition. And this is really where, again, I'm glad we talked about Lou's parents already, because they have been together for 4 years, and Lou knows that her family is fabulously wealthy, has a mansion in Paris and in Belgium, kind of wealthy. And the thought didn't even cross their minds of, well, we can just fly to Paris. We can maybe try and get the procedure done there. How much is it over there? Like, let's weigh some of the cost benefits here.
Or like, how about this? Can you lend me like $80,000 because that means nothing to you? Like,
but no, of course not. She doesn't. I'm going to choose it just for racist reasons. That's what I'm choosing. It's an Arab-looking guy who has a dad who might look like Jeff Goldblum. Huh? Okay, let's put those two coatings. Let's figure out why her Belgium German but lives in France for legal reasons father doesn't want to support that. Huh?
God damn. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. That's so funny.
Yeah, he's not okay with him on multiple axes there.
So the other factor and the other thing that is often talked about in this movie is addiction. And, because this movie is about being deaf, but it's also about being an addict. And I liked how they tried to not draw a one-to-one parallel with this. Like, this is a man who is an addict and he becomes deaf. It's not treated as a, well, you're already an addict, so it's just like being deaf mentally. Like, it's a good way to explain it, as this is something entirely different, that this is not a disability so much as this is a new culture, with being deaf. So Lou is very worried, though, that Ruben's going to be slipping up. So they call his sponsor, who then talk about real networking speed. Sponsor is within like 5 minutes able to find like a deaf rehab recovery center for him to go and visit. So just way to work those contacts, Hector.
And it was funny how they called him after he had a cigarette. It's like, oh no, he's had a cigarette. The slippery slope has begun.
Yeah, that was a little like, I'm choosing to believe that they are overreacting because otherwise it won't reflect well on me and my choices. Well, surely, as I'm chain smoking, like, it doesn't mean anything, It's just it's a habit for me. It's fine. I'm cool. I'm fine.
Only when I'm drunk.
So they then go to this recovery center that's run by a gentleman named Joe, who's a recovering alcoholic who lost his hearing in the Vietnam War, which is just, you got to have some form of military vet in your movie if you're going to talk about anyone in like the America with Disabilities Act subcategory. Like, just as a general rule, it doesn't matter if it's Sound of Metal or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You need to have someone out there with a bunch of military experience to kind of check off that list. I wonder if you get a grant, like legitimately, like if you get like $15,000, if you say like, well, one of our like sub good guys was in the military.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I gotta get those guys Vietnam War runners-up shirts.
It could be like, what was it, like 1963, 1964, 1965, just each individual one.
Class of, yeah.
So then in the process of Ruben getting interviewed by Joe, there is just, the movie does it so well. This is why it has a great script, because Joe is asking a question about like, well, how long have you been clean? And what drug did you do? And like, oh, it was heroin, and I've been clean for about 4 years. Then a couple of other questions go by, and then Joe asks, well, how long have you and Lou been together? And it's been like, oh, about 4 years. And it just, they move on to the next question. But again, there I am, just like writing in my notes, like, fuck, under my breath over and over. Because, man, just replacing a narcotic addiction with a relationship. Gang. Hell yeah.
See, I kind of took it like he got clean for her, but maybe that's just the romantic in me.
That is, I think, the romantic in you.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
real cute. Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of how I interpreted it too, but it's like, I think always wrapped up in that is like, yeah, he replaced one drug for the other, and the other's her. Like, that's just sort of a given.
Pussy's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
It's the worst one of all right, we have to find a niche audience of the MRA fandom somehow. Get some loyal listeners. That's what we're trying to go for here.
I'm thinking that's the actual message of Infinite Jest. Pussy's a hell of a drug.
I saw, by the way, that there is like on Sci-Fi or some network that they are going to be making like a Discworld TV show, but it's set like in some like downtown police precinct, and like it's a cop procedural, but it's in the world of Infinite Jest and all that. So I thought, of course, this is the most American thing that's ever happened.
That's so fucked up.
So they Ruben and Lou decide, well, fuck you, we're not going to do this. We're going to go try and live our own best life. Or specifically, Ruben says that Lou is kind of like a sad puppy dog at this point, kind of going around. And then the next morning, Ruben is just fucking tearing apart their van that they live in. All of the Instagram aesthetic, cute, collectible merchandise just fucking getting destroyed. And when Lou says, rightfully so, you need to go back because you're not well, Ruben responds with the totally normal and A-okay and non-toxic thing of, is this about the album? Huh? I know it's about the album. Which I would say, by the way, that since she did go in a very different musical direction, maybe it was also about the album.
Yeah.
Maybe Ruben's instincts weren't entirely off with that baseline assumption here. So point is that Lou then leaves to go be with her millionaire French, German, Belgian dad, whatever. And Ruben goes to the shelter. So it's a real, their lives are separating, and the actual process of filming this movie, they actually kind of sent Olivia Cook away for whatever the 6-month time period was, of just like, okay, well, we don't need you for this period of time, so we'll see you later on. And that kind of helped with the feelings of them being a little estranged, like they kind of had lost a little bit of their on-screen chemistry, which I thought was an interesting and also very low budget style approach to what they got going on. Ruben then meets other members of the shelter, and I really love what they did with when he walks in, because it's all so disorienting. Because I mean, he's isolated, he's alone, he can't really talk to anyone, he can't communicate in any way, but everyone's talking around him. So it was one of those things of as the movie progressed and he picked up more and more on the mannerisms and conversations, we were able to get more and more subtitles kind of peppered in as things were going through. So that was just a very neat trick, and I enjoyed that approach by the director to kind of give us that sort of a feel. What did y'all think about the? I mean, the characters I understand are fairly one note, but like, did one of them stand out? What did y'all think?
I liked the guy with like the huge giant plugs.
Yeah.
That's also a heroin addict. I mean, he like barely does anything, but
hey,
like,
he's their IT guy, which.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Imagine explaining to a deaf boomer Vietnam vet what the internet is.
I enjoyed the interaction with the kids, like when they they did the improvised drumming on the metal slide, and then he brought the buckets into the classroom and they were drumming on them. Those were cool. Those were good. And also, yeah, no, like to go back to what you were saying earlier about when he initially walks into the house and you experience from his perspective, like how how like outside of social communication he is with the people because he doesn't speak sign language and he like doesn't know how to be deaf.
Yes.
And it was sort of like, oh, like someone who's trying to be on Twitter who isn't a socially maladjusted autist. like that must be what it feels like.
What are you doing? Being sincere and genuine online? What the fuck? Get rid of that. What are you talking about? I really did appreciate how this movie didn't go full Hollywood on us, because when that elementary school deaf teacher was introduced, I was like, well, I know where this movie's going. Like, they're gonna fall in love and it's gonna be
That's
new
what
girlfriend.
I thought too.
Yeah. But
she's really pretty.
well, the actress Lauren Ridloff, she was actually Miss Deaf America from 2000 to 2002. So
I can see it.
Yeah, she's pretty.
Yeah,
you can see it.
Yeah.
Not Miss America, but Miss Deaf America. Absolutely.
No, she definitely had a girl next door about her that would belie a Miss Deaf America more so than just a Miss America. But I'm honestly glad they didn't go the cliche like he gets estranged from his girlfriend and then leaves her for the deaf school instructor.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad they didn't do something sort of cliche like that with that character.
I mean, it was just the little things about the movie that they do that really build out a lot of human character moments. So it's smartly done. It doesn't fall into the cliches, you know. When Joe has Ruben or sees Ruben like fixing things around the house, but instead kind of tells him to stop, to go ahead, and then his assignment is to sit in a room by himself all day. And if he gets bored, he can go ahead and write things down. And man, there's two kinds of people, I think, when you're told to just go sit and be alone with your thoughts for hours on end. People who think, oh, cool. And other people who think, dear God, can you please just, I don't know, jump me in like we're in a street gang or something. Anything but this.
I'm definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I always have to have some sort of media playing. I have to be simultaneously doing something productive and have media playing. Like I have to keep the information flowing, keep the grift coming in and out. Otherwise I'm not at peace.
I mean, the most relatable thing in the world was when he ripped apart the donut into like 40 or 50 different little pieces.
He punched the donut.
Yeah. He reformed it and then re-punches it. It's just something that I was related to an awful lot. Just a real kind of cut wood, carry water kind of moment. So he then, our main character, Ruben, he then is connecting with all the kids, like you were mentioning, Grift. He's becoming a default music instructor. I guess, yeah, this is the part where then Joe then offers Ruben a job, basically, which I'm not familiar with how stays operate, because I know, at least as the movie described, his stay was with this group was set up and run through the church, but I guess that was running out or something. And so, and if he wanted to stay on, he could then kind of become an employee of the community and start, I guess, assisting with the music or with handiwork or whatever. But that makes sense, first off, but that also sounds like a cult to me a little bit.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's just like, well, yeah, sure, you can stay here for like a month and a half, get back on your feet, and then you can work for free but continue to live here, or you can hit the road, you heroin addict. Like,
yeah, no, it felt very culty, like the way he was like, if you can't assume the deaf lifestyle completely, then you're not a part of us. And that, like, but also I love that scene, like, I love that little bit, like earlier in the movie where Ruben had to make sure that he wasn't like affiliated with the church in any way.
Yeah.
he had to parse like, oh, the church helps out people, but it's not like a religious thing. It felt like, because he's like, oh, me and my girlfriend, we're not religious people. It was like he had a little like Reddit atheist moment.
Yeah.
I had to let people know I'm not actually on board with what your dead god has to say. Like, oh, real cool, dude. We're just trying to help you out right now,
like,
but
dude,
fine.
yeah, just accept the material help. Come on.
My favorite little, it wasn't really a bit so much as something that he did repeatedly and incessantly, is how Ruben would go sneak into Joe's office to go check in on his ex-girlfriend, like see what she was up to. That's some real relatable content, I think. I mean, like it seemed like a parallel to like sneaking off to go and trying to do drugs, right? Like that's what the director was trying to draw a little bit, is just like he's getting his fix in, he's able to connect a little bit more, and then eventually he just has a little bit too much, and then he realizes like I need to sell all my worldly belongings in my van and my RV, and I'll go get cochlear implants.
Yeah, he's getting high off watching videos of her doing experimental acoustic music, like sitting on the like some $50,000 carpet or something. Like, yeah, when you mentioned like the Grimes parallels, I was like, I can see it.
I can too. So yeah, Ruben's able to then sell all of his possessions via one of the people that works there. He gave them a tattoo, I think, right? That was the assumption. Like he sketched out a tattoo and then gave a prison tat to someone in the deaf community, or
Well, and they're like talking about like pussy hair about it, because like they're like, oh well, like, you know, I like a little bit of hair, not too much. So it's I thought that was like a really cute moment. You can tell he's like making friends.
exactly.
You know?
Some, again, tasteful friends.
Just
only
guys
the best
being
tattoo
guys.
ideas. So he then basically gets enough money, and then he goes and he gets the actual surgery done, which good for him for, I guess, you know, not needing a ride home. It seems weird. Don't they usually need to have someone who is listed as like on your pickup form or whatever to release you? I'm not sure how implants work, but it is brain surgery after all. So who knows? So he then goes back into the community, explains to Joe what happened. Joe, as Griff was mentioning, says that for the sake of the others and to help kind of continue this idea that deafness is not a handicap, but rather it's a community and a culture, they have to kick him out, which again, it is pretty shitty to kick, you know, Ruben to the curb, but I also understand the desire to try and keep the community insular, especially probably if I were to, I don't know, look up how deaf people have been treated in America, historically speaking. I'm going to assume it's not the best in general.
Are you saying they should be keeping the community pure?
It is a real problem. I mean, I do wonder how kids who you know, were born deaf and then given the cochlear implant from a very early age, I wonder how they would feel while watching this movie, because it almost feels like the message is like, that's the easy way out. And it could just be like, no, I want this implant. Like I had an opportunity and I did it. It doesn't make me any less deaf or any less a part of the deaf community, but that could just be me trying to, you know, nitpick a good movie. So I'm not going to white knight on behalf of someone else. But I will.
Yeah.
I agree with you, because I thought that was kind of like, you know, shitty. Like he still can't hear, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, also, you know, when they do activate the cochlear implants after he gets kicked out, and we find out again, it sounds like dog shit. It's like a 1950s ham radio with mega distortion played through like the shittiest car speaker in the world. Like that's the impression that it gives off in terms of sound quality. I would imagine that then if he said like, no, I would rather go back to the community should accept him back with open arms. It should not be, one of those things of like, I can't believe you got the implants. It should be, oh, well, like he got the implants and he chose to go back and be with us. Like he recognizes the value of it. I don't know. Maybe that's like my ex-religious background of being like, oh, well, he just has a better testimony now. That's all it means. But I don't know. So he, again, he sold everything. He's kind of at his wit's end. So he does what any of us would do when we're all broke. Flies to goddamn Paris or Belgium or whatever. Nice to know that it was great, by the way, when Joe kicks Ruben out and then Ruben's like, by the way, like, do you got any money, man?
Yeah.
Like, that's where I was like,
He's like, do you happen to have like $27,000 I can borrow?
just real quick.
I'm good for it, man. Don't worry, I'm good for it.
I mean, again, like as much as I want to complain about an insular community, he'd be like, no, I don't have any money. What the fuck? Come on now. Get out, you addict. Yeah, again, no empathy with him in that moment. But Ruben goes, he flies out to Europe, meets Lou's just fabulous and wealthy dad, just, you know, living his best life, honestly, as a confirmed bachelor, doing the most European stuff in the world of an, what is it? What's that egg preparation style called?
What, soft boiled?
Is that what it is? A soft boiled egg? When they're cracking it and then they're...
Yeah, that's soft boiled. We do not do that here, yeah.
I was looking at the entire time, just godless heathens. How could you?
I don't know. All I know is that her dad was absolutely on Robert Maxwell's yacht when he got pushed into the ocean.
Yes.
So Lou's not there at the time, so it's Ruben and the dad talking, and there's a little bit of tension, but the dad says he didn't like Ruben when he first heard about him, but he now at least appreciates that he was there for his daughter. And that, at least for me, was like the biggest red flag in the world, is that like if you're in a serious relationship with someone and then their parent or parent figure is talking about like what a good rock you were for them. No, absolutely not. Like your relationship is not recovering from that point. Like
he also goes on a divorced dad tirade, which is just very perfect for like his age and character. Just like my bitch wife, like essentially,
yeah.
it's my bitch dead wife. Like,
yeah, best kind of a bitch wife, if you ask me.
oh.
Yeah, it is much less sinister sounding when it comes from Pepe Le Pew. So when Lou and Ruben finally meet up again, Lou has a new haircut. She has her a new hair color. She has eyebrows again. She's looking just to be in a much better mental state. Mostly because she's done with her poverty tourism, I think, is probably what it is, right? Of just, I got that out of my system now. I can now finally resume being an opera singer like my dad. So let me play or let me sing his song at his birthday dinner with all of his rich friends. Like you hit it on the nail, Griff. Like all these people definitely are in some black site documents somewhere. Like all of these people, it's not looking too good.
They a lot of them probably work for Deutsche Bank.
Yeah. And like at his birthday thing, he's like, yeah, my daughter has to sing my song with me, even if she doesn't want to. It was the framing of like, I'm gonna get whatever I want from this young woman, even if she doesn't want it, is kind of definitely indicative of men of that class.
Also, an effortless performance by that actor. I don't know how he was able to get in that headspace somehow. Just such a bizarre spot, especially for a French man in today's society. Who knows? It is though a beautiful enough song. It is very pretty, and that is what makes the jarring smash cut into hearing how Ruben hears the song all the more brutal, because you can barely recognize that it's a song among all of the white noise and the chatter and clinking of plates and everything else. Which I mean, that's just something that where I didn't realize just how much background noise, I guess, I was truly able to filter out on my own, But thinking about now, who knows when I'm actually going to be back in a public setting with like 30 plus people. The idea of like hanging out with like 3 people is bizarre to me right now. So I'm going to have to escalate up. But once I get back to like the 30 plus gatherings time, it's going to be weird to remember all of the little noises that exist everywhere. And so it's something that, I'm going to be thinking about every time until the end. So
whenever my family eats out, I always have to call ahead and like very carefully explain, like, I need something far away from the kitchen, I need a corner, and I need it to be the most quiet part of the restaurant, because if it's a loud restaurant, we like straight up have to leave because everyone in my family cannot hear it because of the background noise.
Sure.
Like restaurant and like clinking plates, like that is like horrible, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is weird things for people to think about, is that I would imagine that would also affect like when y'all might go out to eat, in addition to restaurants and stuff like that, of like, well, we're going to do a late lunch or an early dinner because this is the dead time in the restaurant. And so it's the perfect time for us to go. And so just little things to go on. Ruben and Lou finally reconnect after the party, and that's where they have this real emotional, you're not the bad guy, no one's the bad guy, but I think we might need to go our separate ways. There is a line of dialogue, I wrote it down here: "You saved my life, you made it beautiful." And that was the first time I watched this movie. I thought, wow, this is a pretty gorgeous piece of dialogue. The next time it didn't quite hit the same, seemed a little bit cornier, but that's probably also because I was looking at like Nickelback remixes of Rockstar set to like 80s synth music. So I wasn't quite in the same headspace, I guess, is my point. So it was just interesting to me how they were able to have a fairly amicable breakup. But at least from my perspective, I thought, well, of course, like, y'all's relationship was never actually truly built to last. You maybe had like another year before she did do her Grimes thing over in Europe, and you, I know, kept hanging out at the merch table. Like it didn't seem like it was something that was going to last truly too much longer based on how old they were and that sort of stuff.
Lou's definitely gonna like, her final trajectory is ending up with a tech bro who promises he can put like a chip in her head that gives her an orgasm on command or something. Like,
it's gonna be something even worse. It's gonna be like, it's an orgasm every time it turns on. That way, then you can really start your day the right way. Isn't that what you want when you're first waking up? Some bizarre chip that completely resets your body like that? Oh, it's wonderful. So the next morning, Ruben kind of sneaks out of the house. He goes downstairs outside, and just the background noise of everything is deafening once again. It's too much. And he finally then takes out his implants. The things on the outside, not the actual implants. Don't want to make people think he was taking like a butcher's knife to the back of his head here. But he then, sat down in silence and just was, there being and existing, and just what I thought was a real beautiful moment and an appropriate into the film.
Yeah, that final shot there, it was a real good way to, again, like show and not tell. Like the emotional journey that he was going through, and like you could as the in person watching this movie and hearing this movie, you could just really feel how uncomfortable living with one of those implants would be, and the distraction and the way it's like a bad dream with sounds coming at you from all sides, and then the comparison to the relative peace of just not hearing anything. And it definitely came full circle with that talk that him and the house leader had earlier about how, like, to appreciate the moments of silence. So it definitely rung, it felt like a complete emotional narrative in a satisfying way, and it was conveyed in a classy and subtle way that was totally based on the things that had been driving the movie, which were the sound design and Riz Ahmed's like performance.
Absolutely.
And just the way it came together in that final moment to sort of tie everything up with a bow and drive home the point of what they were going for with the project was really nice. The way they executed that,
it really was something about where I've never been just immediately on board with whatever this director comes out next. Now, I'm not going to predict that it will be good, but I'm definitely going to watch it. You know, like, again, it could be another like Southland Tales, or which would be good, or what is it, Under the Silver Lake, or like a Zardoz, or whatever, Heaven's Gate. Who knows? But it's something about where I think like you made such a great splash onto the scene in this way where no one was the butt of any joke. No one was being exploited pretty much in any way. And that is just a rare feat, but especially rare if this is your first go round with this kind of thing. I mean, just that he was whereas most people might use a crutch, he was basically free soloing this directorial effort. So I enjoyed it a whole lot. There's a new segment-ish that I wanted to ask y'all, though, just as we're reflecting back on the movie and the rundown. What do you think was the most like memorable moment or memorable moment while watching? Because for me, at least, it was when he was talking about when he dies, no one will care, but that it's okay. That existential crisis that he was having right there while sitting down at the table, which again, on my second rewatch, that's when I noticed that mini monologue was all one shot. And I just really appreciated that. It was a good performance, but it also is just something about where like, oh, okay, well, this is a classic overreaction point that I can immediately empathize with.
No, I definitely agree with you there. I think that's a really both memorable and memeable moment, and I like how you took the clip from that and then posted it from the pod account. That was that was a good shit post there. But I definitely like that message that was like, you know, were you know, nebulous beings that pass through the world briefly, and it's that sort of like curse of Achilles where do you go for it all and try to get yourself remembered but forsake everything else and perhaps cut yourself short with the choices you have to make, like pursuing that. I think that rings true to any creative like us, online, trying to build an audience, trying to get your thoughts out there. I think that's in engaging with those existential dilemmas is always it always hits home.
Definitely.
For memeable moments, the one where he's having a panic attack in the club and he just like drops everything and then like runs out. That's how I feel every single time I like log off Twitter, just like escaping the chaos.
I'm glad that you're giving hope to me by finding out it is in fact possible to log off and not just talk about logging off. That's incredibly relatable. Now is the time, though. Now, and this is weird because when you're reviewing Thunder Force, it's fun to talk about how many trash cans you would give a movie, but now it feels a borderline hate crime if we're talking about how many trash cans we would give this movie. But Grift, how many are you giving this?
I'd say half a trash can.
Okay.
Just it was sort of slow in some places, and I felt my attention wavering sometimes. It probably could have been cut a little bit as far as the length. Some like, you know, was like, yeah, we get he has anger issues. We get like, and he's like punching donuts and like destroying things in the trail. It felt a little heavy handed at times. So not a perfect zero trash cans. We'll have to reserve that for occasions like how there are no true 10s. Yeah. Like they may come along once in a while, but like it's the top of the scale is meant for the very, very few. So gonna have to give it half a trash can. Good. Because of that.
Yeah, I mean, just to show my hand, I'm in the exact same boat because I thought it's almost 2 hours long. Could have been an hour 30, and that's why. Just trim it up just a little bit here. But
I agree with every sentiment. A tight 90, I think, would have been good for for this. But I mean, honestly, I think it's very hard to even say it's bad at all. I think it was a really wonderful film.
Oh yeah, again, if the only criticism I have is like it could be tightened up a little bit. That'd be like if someone were to say like, okay, I need you to give me a criticism about my podcast. That'd be like if someone were to say you left a couple uhs and uhs in. Like, okay, well, fine.
Yeah.
If that's the harshest criticism you have, I think that they can take it. It's especially going to make me feel like a real asshole, though. If it's like, yeah, I mean, it could be edited a little tighter, and then it wins an Oscar for best editing. Like, well.
I mean, like, it was edited well,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's not, yeah, it's just like,
Well, fuck
usually,
me then, yeah.
Yeah. Usually these types of movies could do to be a little bit shorter, but then again, we're also coming off of watching Melissa McCarthy chug raw chicken.
No.
So
I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
yeah.
I cannot complain about
No raw
what we
chicken
chose to watch
scenes in this
week.
movie.
Yeah. There was that one scene of them like scraping out his ear a little bit. You saw it
Yeah,
on the screen. That was the one little gross moment. But
there was some guy who was like, I was Riz Ahmed's brain double in that scene. Yeah.
I got a lot of gray matter scraped out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Babs, just thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
It's it is nice. This is proof that the system can work, because I think this will be one of our personally tightest episodes. So amazing what happens when you are reviewing a good movie versus one that just is ruining us. But tell us where people can find you. What projects have you got going on? What's happening in your world?
Yeah, you guys can find me. I do Radio Free Labor. We have a Patreon and a free feed. Come check us out. We're going to be starting Twitch streaming as soon as I finally build my PC.
Hell yeah.
Which should be next week, maybe. So come check that out, and you guys should come on for some time, hang out with us. And then also follow me on Twitter at Cowgirl Bebop.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to come over to the dark side sometime and go on Twitch.
You can play Hearts of Iron with us.
Oh no.
Oh my god, I absolutely want to engage in a European campaign of conquest. I am going to recreate the Roman Empire. I'm Rome Pill that never fell.
Well, Grift, what about you? What's happening in your world?
As always, I'm at Grift Shop. The O is a 0 in there. In the handle, the website, merch site, grift.shop. I got, always have a couple podcast collabs in the pipeline. I have a Epstein Southland Tales upcoming crossover shirt.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I Kelton, I think we talked a little bit about that, but it is. I honestly think it's the second best Epstein shirt ever made. Obviously, cannot eclipse the god Sam Hyde, but I think we really got something here. So that's look for that in the coming weeks.
Awesome. Yeah. No. Everyone should kind of keep their ears to the ground in anticipation of that. For me, y'all can find me on Twitter at Sex Confetti, or find me on TikTok, not at Sex Confetti anymore. Changed my handle to represent the fandom. Find me on TikTok at Southland Tales. That username was available. I took it, and then I posted one clip, and I now have the top result if you were to search hashtag Southland Tales on there. So I am your god king now on TikTok, Southland Tales. Bow to me.
We are riding this piece of media all the way to the top.
Yeah, to the top. You
On
hear
every
that?
platform.
With a side podcast set in the world of Southland Tales, we will have dozens of listeners. You hear me? Dozens.
Will Menaker, you retweeted the pod account? Let's go a little further next time.
Well, very cool, y'all. Without further ado, let's go ahead and say goodbye.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.